أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والعاقبة للمتقين والصلاة والسلام على رسولنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Dear brothers and sisters in Islam, we would like to welcome you to the 10th episode of the Moments of Reflection with Rasail al-Nur at the YouTube and Facebook channels of Khairat Foundation. And inshallah, we will hold our series every month, inshallah. And this is the 10th episode. And again, we are going to deal with a very important topic, which is Akhirah, resurrection. And I have a very special guest today, Brother Hamza Berat Öztaş. And he is the representative of Khairat Foundation in UK. Welcome, Brother Hamza Berat.
Thank you.
So, without further ado, inshallah, I would like to proceed to our discussion. And I want to share, inshallah, the slide with you. Okay, so the topic for today is life after death, a dazzling truth or a bogus claim. So we as Muslims believe that we will all be resurrected in Akhirah. So this world will come to an end, the entire universe will be destroyed, and then another world will be created in which human beings will be resurrected and we will be living eternally in that place. So to some, this is a far-fetched truth or belief. Of course, all non-believers, they have no belief in a life, after this world. But we as Muslims, we believe in Akhirah. We believe in another life that is ever eternal. So do we believe indeed just blindly, or do we have certain proofs and evidences through which we have a certain and firm belief in the existence of Akhirah? So inshallah, today with our distinguished guest, we are going to discuss this topic. And we will inshallah benefit from Imam Badi'ur Zaman Sayyid Nursi's epistle on Hashr, epistle on resurrection, as well as in the book of Asa Musa, or the staff of Moses, the 7th matter talks about this issue, the issue of resurrection. So inshallah, we are going to, of course, it is a large and very long discussion. It's indeed very detailed and evidential. And we cannot go, of course, to all of the details and discussions covered in those epistles. So today, just we will provide for you a short example and sample from them, inshallah. And we will refer you for, inshallah, lengthy discussion and investigation and reading and analysis to those chapters in the Rasail al-Nur. So, of course, as we said, Iman bil Akhirah is one of the beliefs that we have, and it is one of the 6 tenets of faith that we as Muslims hold. And as we said, Imam Badi'ur Zaman Sayyid Nursi proves the resurrection as strong as 2 times 2 equals 4. So he does not just blindly, or just as a means of submission, just mere submission, as we can call it, to Allah. Rather, of course, we Muslims have a submission, but this submission comes after we have a strong faith also. So we do have a strong faith, as the scholars of Islam have always proved and explained. And today, inshallah, we're going to, again, the benefit from the books of Imam Badi'ur Zaman Sayyid Nursi regarding, and his book, by the way, is known as to be very unique in its field in terms of proving on rational and logical grounds the existence of Akhirah and the reality of resurrection. And there is another anecdote that I just want to share with you before we proceed into the topic today about the importance of this epistle on resurrection in Rasail al-Nur. So it was 1927. Imam Bediüzzaman Said Nursi was exiled to a remote part of Turkey. And at the same time, Turkey was going through some secularization process. And a committee was somehow established to discuss, to talk about how to, make the people of Turkey disbelieve in Akhirah. And at the same time, it happened to be so that Imam Bediüzzaman wrote this epistle on Akhirah, proving the resurrection. And he sent one, chapter, one copy of this chapter to, and it somehow went to that committee. It reached that committee. And that committee knew that this is from Imam Bediüzzaman Said Nursi, who's a very influential scholar. So unless we disprove these arguments in this book first, we can never disprove Akhirah in Turkey. And just with a short and quick look at it, they have understood that this book, the arguments in this book they can never be disproved. So they have said, with this book available, we can never disprove Akhirah in Turkey. And they have abolished that committee. So there is a very historic and real anecdote about the importance and value and significance of this chapter of this book that inshallah we are going to share just one passage from it. So inshallah we can go to our discussion today, and I would like to give it to Brother Hamza Berat for starting our discussion today.
Jazakallah khair. Thank you, Brother Yusuf. It is my pleasure and honor to be here with you, honestly. Yet another time, alhamdulillah, I thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for granting us this unique opportunity for speaking on this very platform. And I'm very happy. Thanks for inviting me. And I'm very happy and I'm glad that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us the opportunity. So we should praise Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for every blessing that He has given us. And I also send salutations and salawat upon our noble messenger, Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And we pray to Allah that all our brothers and sisters currently, because we are living in a very depressing and rather challenging times of pandemic, and many brothers and sisters are currently suffering from the virus. So I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to grant them shifaya ajil and kamil, with immediate and perfect healing, and sabr on them, and patience, beautiful patience on them. So Brother Yusuf, if I'm not mistaken, it was in 2018 or 2019, no, actually 2018, when we organized an open mosque day event in Southampton. So these events, so open mosque day, or in United States they call it open house day. So hundreds of non-Muslims attended the event. They had time and opportunity to see a mosque in real life and ask their questions to real, Muslims, other than the ones in media that portrayed in, in the television. So it was a very positive experience for all of them. Also, it was positive for us as well. Had time to exchange ideas with them. And people from all walks of life and people of different backgrounds came together in that event. So university students, professionals, local neighbors from the vicinity, and people from other faiths like Christian, Jewish, and Sikh communities came together. And obviously we had people from atheist community as well, and those who believe in a superior being, but that energy or being does not go into their individual life, those agnostic, people as well. We had lots of questions, and above all questions from different people. A question from a priest, an Anglican priest who was on active duty. He had a church and he was preaching to his people. His question intrigued me. That was the most interesting question for me. Why? After a warm discussion and civil exchange of well-wishing, the topic came to a point where he said, Hamza, do Muslims believe in the hereafter? Do you believe that there is hell and paradise? I said, of course, we do believe in, paradise and hell. You are a Christian priest. Don't you believe in so? So he said, I have suspicions. So he suspected if there was any sort of life after death. So I asked him, why do you think so? Why do you think, why there are question marks in your mind? And he said, God's mercy and love cannot go hand in hand with eternal damnation and eternal hell. He can't understand why there should be an eternal hell and paradise. So how could an eternal mercy and compassion, how could that, compassion find it suitable to send his creation into hellfire? So obviously this was not only a problem of evil, question in theology and philosophy, but also of eschatology. But anyway, so our answer to his question made him happy, and I observed it in his body language, and I saw it in his eyes that he just got relaxed, so he became happy, and he liked the answer. So his argument for impossibility of existence of hereafter was actually the base and foundation of my argument to prove the possibility of life and hereafter. So what I understood in that very moment, although he was a believer in God, he couldn't get the point of the hereafter, because those who do not understand that there will be a hereafter, they don't actually get the point, or actually either they don't believe in God, or their God figure in their mind is not fully accomplished. So the names of God and its necessary results are not understood well. So in order to fully grasp the meaning of hereafter, I just told him we need to have a perfect faith, strong faith in the existence of God. If you have so, we need to understand the qualities and attributes and names of God as well. Because otherwise, we can just limit ourselves to a very limited understanding of godness or divinity. So from that point on, our conversation unfolded, and I asked him, is God merciful and loving? He said, yes. Is his mercy and love only limited to this world only? He said, no, he's ever merciful, he's eternally merciful. Okay, that's great. So is God almighty? Is he not able to create another world? Yes, he is. He's almighty. He can create another world just as he created this world. That's great. Is God just? Do you believe in his justice, or his justice is only specific to this world alone? He said no. His justice is superior to any other time and place. So is he not true to his promise? Do you think God tell lies? Like he promised in his divine scriptures that he would create a judgment day, and he would put people into questioning, bring about a day of judgment. Do you think he can lie? He said no. So I also said, God accepts prayers, doesn't he? He said yes, of course we pray to him and he accepts. So many people, actually millions of people, pray to God, oh God, please grant us an eternal paradise, eternal happiness. So he was just thinking, and I just went on. So I said, is God generous? He said, of course, but eternal generosity requires eternally giving gifts. Otherwise, if generosity is limited to one point, then it couldn't be a real generosity. And God is beautiful, isn't he? Yes, he is, but a limited beauty cannot be regarded a beauty that belongs to God. And that went on, and God's beauty, generosity, and his creation, and after all of them, the manifestations of his beauty will be seen both in this world and the next. And the last point I made was God's creation of human with innately pure nature, as we call it in Islamic theology, fitra, beautifully created fitra, nature that Allah has given us, the capacity to ask, the capacity to find the beauty, capacity to find the morality or the exact fine things around us, including Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, existence of Allah and others. So we are created for eternity, and our nature asks for that. Don't you think that people just do anti-aging and they do go under lots of operations or do lots of exercise to live longer, to prolong their lifespan? And as the conversation finished, like it took like 1 hour or half an hour, I'm not sure about the exact timing, but after the conversation finished, all answers which are taken from the Book of Light, by the way, from the Risala, from the 10th word. Subhanallah, I saw in his eyes that, okay, now I do believe in the hereafter, because he believed in God, but he didn't know that names of God actually require a hereafter, life after that. And so I think today's presentation, I'm not sure whether we can go deep into all of those names, but at least some of them we can give a glimpse of what Imam Nursi put forward in the 10th word. Inshallah, we can learn existence of God first and his attributes and names afterwards, if we make that logical thing. Otherwise, for those people who do not have any belief in God, proving hereafter is almost nothing. So logical and necessary requirements of those names is explained in this very particular epistle, Risala. So Brother Yusuf, I think we can go to your part now. Could you please start with the first name? What do you think that name of God give us a clue of that there will be a resurrection?
All right. Yeah, as just as a framework for the presentation, we can just note that initially we're gonna cover like some couple of concerns or questions raised by those who don't believe in Akhirah. So one of them, they say, is there any reason why there should be an Akhirah? And you have explained, right, to that Christian why there should be an Akhirah based on the names of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So inshallah today we're going to discuss one of those names, which is the first argument is about basically the justice, inshallah. So let's read from the passage and let's inshallah expound on it. So we're going to cover several names of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that proves the existence of Akhirah. So just methodologically, we can say the method that Imam Badi'ur Zaman Sayyid Nursi followed in this 10th verse, that is the epistle on Hashr, on resurrection, is that Imam Badi'ur Zaman proves the existence of Allah first. Proves the existence of Allah. Because in the entire Rasail al-Nur, Imam Badi'ur Zaman proves the existence of Allah through the seen world. Right? The world that we see is a proof for the existence of Allah that we don't see with our bare eyes. So what we see can be proof always for something that we don't see, right? So for example, I have a book, which means there is a writer who wrote this book. The fact that I don't see the writer, I don't know even its name, her name, doesn't mean that there is a writer. There is no writer. So there is a writer, right? If I am holding a book, a meaningful book. So likewise, this universe is a book and there has to be a writer. This universe is a work of engineering, so there has to be an engineer. This universe is a work of art, so there has to be an artist, right? This universe is a work of mercy, so there has to be a merciful being who created it. So inshallah, this is basically the methodology that Imam Badi'ur Zaman follows, that he proves the existence of Allah and then he proves his names, again through the world that we see. And then those names which we cannot deny anymore because we have proven their existence and their reality. And then those names attest, they bear witness to the existence of another world, that is Akhirah. So in order to deny Akhirah, we have to first deny his names, which we cannot. Or we have to deny his existence again, which we cannot, because we have already proven from the seen world. So this is a very strong, actually, and grounded argument that Imam Badi'ur Zaman Sayyid Nursi follows in his 10th word, mashallah. And inshallah, today we're going to discuss, inshallah, a few of those arguments. So let's start reading, Bismillah. Yes, since there is no kingdom that does not hold up a recompense for those obedient to it and a punishment for those who rebel against it. So in the world, is there any kingdom, is there any country that doesn't hold up, right, a recompense, a reward for those who obey the government, the country, and then a punishment for those who rebel against it? Of course, all the countries, they have prisons, and all the countries, they have places of recreation, parks and all those beautiful places, or even certain rewards for beautiful and obedient good people. So we can never claim that there is no country in the world who doesn't have these two things. So there is no doubt that, so if this is so in this world, there is no doubt that the eternal sultanate, So this is a kingdom, this is a sultanate in this world, a government holding, you know, the leadership, the administration of a country, and doing so many things, a system there is. So then in order to keep the system running and everything, right, he holds, and also the people, you know, they either obey or disobey, they create problems or they are fine. So for them, you know, he says, I'm gonna, you know, punish you if you do wrong, or I'm gonna reward you if you do fine. So if this is so in this small world that is not at the level of an eternal sultanate, right? This is a temporary, imperfect sultanate of human beings. So we are talking about an eternal sultanate, that is the sultanate of Allah, the kingdom of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who is the Lord of the worlds, the Rabbul Alameen, which is in the station of absolute lordship and sovereignty. So the Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala takes care and controls and manages each and everything in this universe, in the macro world as well as in the micro world. Nothing is outside the sovereignty and control of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And rububiyyah, he takes care of all of them. So in such a sultanate, all right, there is no doubt that the eternal sultanate, which is, you know, right, in the station of absolute lordship and sovereignty, has a recompense befitting that mercy and beauty of all, for all those who affiliate themselves to that sultanate by means of faith and who submit to its decrees in obedience. So there are people, right, who obey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and there are people who doesn't obey. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you know, bestows them, grants them, takes care of them, hears them, gives us breath 20,000 times a day. That's just one single thing, and it is given 20,000 times plus per each day. And there are so many other things that we have no idea about, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is taking care of us, taking care of all of our needs. So, of course, we have to respond, isn't it? When someone gives us anything, so we have to respond in kindness. We have to at least appreciate. So there are those who doesn't appreciate, and there's those who doesn't, you know, acknowledge, you know, the bounties of Allah and go against Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Even, you know, they cause chaos and problems, you know, in the society. So, of course, and there are those again who are obedient to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So Allah is merciful and beautiful. So befitting His mercy and beauty, He's gonna bless the obedient ones, right? Again, in an eternal manner. It further has punishment befitting that might and majesty. And Allah has the sultanate, so He is mighty and He has majesty and glory. So then, again, He should have, right, a punishment that befits His might and majesty for all those who reject in disbelief and rebellion. So for those who disbelieve in Allah and who rebel, who go against Allah, you know, that mighty sultanate. So whoever rejects that mighty sultanate of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, again, will be punished. This is how the divine names Rabb al-Alameen, the Lord of the worlds, and Sultan al-Dayyan, the judging sultan who fully repays due recompense and punishment, answer. But Imam Bediüzzaman says, you know, we don't see this, you know, place of prison, these prisons and these beautiful, you know, places of recreation of that sultanate of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala available in this world. So then where they are, right? So there has to be an akhirah in which there will be a due punishment for the rebellious ones and for the disbelievers, and there should be a due reward from the grace of Allah, from the ihsan of Allah, for, you know, for the obedient ones. Okay, so we can, brother Hamza, Yusuf, Hamza, Berat, if you want, we can proceed, inshallah, to the next one.
Thank you, brother. Yes, you're right. Actually, let's say there is no prison in a country, but if there are rebellious people who are going against the government, if they act against his people, and if they kill his people, if they do not obey the law of that very country, even if there were no prisons in that country whatsoever, the king or the president or the prime minister of that country would definitely make a prison, build a prison to punish those guys, to save the honor and glory of his kingdom, and to protect his citizens. So this is for sure. Even if there is only one person, that person would be punished because of their crimes.
Yes,
So
absolutely.
even in this world, we do have just, we do seek to find just management and just, rule and just kingdom. But we know that Allah is ever more just than someone else. So Allah is just. Allah is adil. Allah is adil. So His justice will be serving, inshallah ta'ala. But let's say if someone kills a person, only single soul, his punishment would be like in today's, just according to today's justice system, it goes like from 15 years to 20 years of prison service. So one person will be punished for killing, for one person will be punished for 20 years. If that number is 2 persons killed, then he could stay in prison for another 20 years, which will make 40 years. Okay, let's say he killed 10 people. What's going to happen? Then the total imprisonment time would be up to 200 years. I'm not talking about killing thousands of people like Hitler did in Germany, and currently happening in Iran, Iraq, or other places, like some people killing innocent people. So if someone killed 1,000 people, how could justice would be serving in this world? This actually shows us that Allah's eternal justice will not be realized in its fullest sense in this world, because we live in a limited and short-lived world, because one person's lifetime could be up to 80 or 90 years. If he committed that crime at the age of 50, killing 10 people and getting only 40 years of prison time is nothing. So it is not justice. So unjust, oppressing, zalim people will be punished, and innocent, oppressed, Muslim people will be rewarded in the hereafter, according to the shan, according to the glory of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because this world is not enough to realize the real justice. So this shows us, this demonstrates us that they're going to be a supreme and divine court of justice. It will be sorted out. All those crimes will be sorted out in the hereafter, and those who were oppressed will be rewarded, and those who oppressed will be punished. I think this could summarize the name of Adil, and it shows that there will be a Supreme Court of Justice, and we are pretty sure that inshallah ta'ala those people who are zalim will be oppressed, will be punished because of the oppressed people.
Yes.
Yes, brother.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Brother Hamza. Okay, let's proceed to the next one, and which is about the name of Rahim and Kareem. Consider the fact that we see with our own eyes as clearly as the sun and the day a universal mercy, and all-embracing compassion and generosity on the face of the earth. So, of course, when we look at the earth, we see that there is a mercy and there is a compassion and generosity that embraces everything. And it's actually a universal mercy. Indeed, the entire universe runs in a system of mercy that cares about all each other. There is a system of compassion that nothing is transgressed. The rights of nothing is transgressed, and the needs of everything is provided by the Creator. So we see there's a universal mercy in our world. An example of this is the indubitable fact of mercy and compassion's clothing and decorating all trees and fruit-bearing plants in spring, as if they were houris, and placing every type of fruit in their hands. That mercy and compassion engenders their saying, hands outstretched, here you come, pick and eat. So, in order to just give a couple of examples, Imam Zaman Sayyid Nursi says, is an example of the mercy and compassion and generosity of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for his human beings, for his created human beings, is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala clothes and decorates all the trees so beautifully. All right, so it means how much Allah cares about the taste of seeing, right, of his human beings. So he even takes into consideration the taste of looking around, right? So he creates so many beautiful things. And secondly, he also places, fruits, right, to those trees, to those plants, so that the human being, they come and it's like the trees say, here you come, pick and eat. It is like the tree is presenting to us without stopping us, right? Without, trying to stop us from taking it. It's just so near, it's just very close to us. We just, can pick it. And it is like packed, right? With its, different colored, cover. So it's packed in different colors and different shapes, subhanAllah. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala cares, right, about the taste of eyes, the taste of tongue, right, the taste of, appetite of human beings, that he creates so many beautiful visions, so many beautiful things around us, and also so many pleasurable fruits, and provides them for us so easily, just to pick them from a tree. So this shows how much the Creator has mercy and how much he loves us as human beings. All right, so this is the part that I can share. Brother Hamza, inshallah, you can continue.
Thank you, brother. The example that you showed regarding the packaged fruits, they have their original packaging, and it's not only a feast for our tongues, but it is also a feast for the eyes as well. Mm-hmm. So Allah, creates everything beautifully, and it with His mercy and compassion, that He thinks and He takes care of each and every need of us. So Allah is so merciful and compassionate. We see that one in the entire universe, every need of us being taken care of, and in an astonishingly beautiful way. So one wouldn't imagine that honey, that the great, nutritious, sweetest, liquid, that honey would be created in the hands of a poisonous insect like bees. Subhanallah, that bee, that even people fear of. It is a poisonous insect, but Allah creates that beautiful honey in the hands of bees. And similarly, Allah let us wear the beautiful, thing, that silk, in the hands of with a handless bug, with a worm. So all shows His mercy and compassion. So feeding us with the sweetest thing on earth, honey. It is not only nutritious, but also carries lots of healing qualities as well. If, like I heard, I remember reading a news 1,000 years ago, I guess there was a ship from Roman times. So it was in the floor of the Aegean Sea. They just took it out, that wreckage. In that wreckage, they found some bowls filled with honey, and it was still preserved beautifully. Subhanallah, it is such a beautiful, material, such a beautiful, compound, that it does not go waste. It does not spoil. It does not go into different shapes. So Allah protects it. So Allah's mercy can be seen in every other point. So another point could be Allah's mercy and compassion that never stop amazing us, that He dresses us with the softest silk. That silk is an amazing material, that it is created in the hands of, actually, that bug does not have a hand. That's why Ustad says a handless bug, a silkworm, makes that silk with the izn, with the permission of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So there are other reasons for resurrections as well. Like if we go deep into mercy and compassion of Allah, we can give other explanations regarding food and kernels and seeds as well. Like in the next slide, we see that it is pretty actually self-explanatory, that in that slide, that Allah's mercy and compassion are beautifully and unbelievably vast. Like He hides tons of food in a tiny kernel and a tiny seed. Subhanallah. he incorporates, he puts all of them in such a tiny repository. It's like a reserve. He reserves them for us. And in all of this, in a most merciful and compassionate fashion. So it is unimaginably true, but unimaginably beautiful. So if Allah is so merciful to us, the question, his mercy must be eternal as well. If we say Allah is merciful, okay, but his mercy will not go on. Otherwise, it wouldn't be mercy. It would be a torture. So if, let's say, you give a toy to a child for a minute, just for a second, then take it from his hands. Or if you give him a bar of chocolate, he gets one bite, he feels that taste, beautiful, sweetest thing, and after a second, you just take it from him. Can we say that this is mercy and compassion to that child? No, actually, that could be a torture. So we may not possibly call this a loving mercy and gentle compassion for such a person. So real compassion should be a compassion that would go forever. And Allah's compassion and mercy is real, and it is eternal, and it is limitless, and it is unbounded. So there is no limit to his mercy. We are sure about it. So Allah is beginninglessly eternal, and Allah is endlessly eternal. He is azali and abadi. So his compassion and mercy would be endless as well. Subhanallah. So those who believe that Allah is merciful, and how his mercy can be understood, like how can Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala create hellfire? Hold on, there is hellfire for those oppressors, but in the meantime, there is an ongoing mercy in the hereafter, in paradise, for those oppressed and for those who obeyed Allah's rules, for God's commandments. So his gifts will continue forever in the hereafter. So his mercy and compassion will go on forever. So this is an important point for us, and this actually puts a big seal or underneath our claim that there will be a hereafter. Yes. Brother Yusuf.
Thank you very much, Brother Hamza. All right, let's continue, inshallah, with the next slide. And this divine mercy and compassion would certainly and without any doubt never wipe out and obliterate these believers who are his beloved, thankful servants and adorers that he feeds so gently and lovingly. Rather, divine mercy and compassion will release them from the vocation of this worldly life in order to cover them in much brighter mercy. So we're talking about such a universal mercy, that the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala encompasses everything, right? وَسِعَتْ رَحْمَتِي كُلَّ شَيْءٍ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Hadith al-Qudsi, my mercy encompasses everything. So even as we start the Quran and all of our recitations with what? Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. So in this sentence, in this phrase, there are the names of Allah. After the name of Allah, there is Rahman and Rahim. So both are the two names of Allah. They are actually they are stemming from the same root, that is Rahman, mercy. So mercy is so important and so central in the universe that we all start, right, our recitations as Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Imam Badi'u Zaman also explains this mercy in the Rasail al-Nur more deeply. Inshallah, we can refer to other parts of Rasail al-Nur to have more understanding of it. Is also, for example, Imam Badi'u Zaman says the name of Allah in the Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim looks to the creation and rububiyyah of the entire universe. And Rahman looks to the compassion and mercy of Allah on the world. And Rahim refers to the compassion of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for the human beings on earth. So there is a special mercy and a special mercy. So Allah is taking care of everything, creating and taking care of all. And then most specifically, taking care of, with compassion, the world, the beings on the world, with life, with mercy, accepting their du'as, creating it so multifariously, in different colors, different shapes, different forms, different species. There are 400,000 species of plants and 1.2 million species of animals as far as it has been discovered today. So you see, Allah cares, so much about this world, compared to the rest of the universe. And then within this world, Allah cares specifically for human beings. So the name of Rahim, again, is manifested on human beings, Imam Badi'uzzahman says. And of course, the name of Rahman and Rahim are again for all human beings, Rahman, but Rahim is specifically again in Akhirah only for the believers. Okay, so mercy of Allah subhanahu is so comprehensive, we can never, stop talking about it and giving more and more examples about it. So just in order to cover, inshallah, the rest of the slides, we should move quickly, inshallah. So Imam Badi'uzzahman then proceeds to say that the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala again will release the human beings from the vocation, from the duty of the world. So isn't it, we are all working, we're all performing a duty. So death is not end of life. Death is indeed just a discharge from the duty of life, from the burden of life. So into where? Into an eternal paradise. Of course, it is up to human beings whether they choose to go to the paradise or they choose to go to hell, right? It is of course based on our actions. And of course, with the mercy of Allah, with the grace of Allah, if we are going to end up in Jannah. We can never, deserve Jannah with our actions, but we do deserve Jahannam. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect all of us if ever anyone goes to, of course, Jahannam. All right, so the last, another paragraph here. That is the answer of the names Ar-Rahim, the compassionate, and Al-Karim, the generous, to our question. And they both say Al-Jannatu Haqqun, paradise is real. So our question, is there any reason for resurrection? And the names of Rahim and Karim, they say yes, there is a resurrection, because the mercy of Allah, as Brother Hamza explained, is eternal. So it doesn't want its adorers, its benefiters, its viewers, its lovers to benefit from it temporarily. So it requires them to benefit from it eternally. And Allah is generous. Someone who is generous, we cannot call a person generous unless he does generosity. And the perfection of the names of Allah are only possible with the continuation of the manifestations of them. If Allah is generous only for some time and is not generous anymore, as Brother Hamza mentioned, it turns into opposite actually. It becomes a punishment, quite opposite. But two opposites cannot come together. Allah cannot be extremely merciful, and which is we see in this world, cannot be extremely generous, which is we see in this world, and then at the same time is extremely ungenerous and unmerciful. The combination of two opposites is impossible. A room cannot be dark at the same time enlightened. Impossible. We cannot be feeling cold at the same time hot. Impossible. So the combination or integration of the two opposites, impossible. So since we see in the seen world that Allah is endlessly compassionate, endlessly knowledgeable, endlessly Kareem and everything, then those names cannot turn to their opposites, and they will again require the existence of an eternal world where actually we will be enjoying those blessings in a better form, because we are eating, for example, the blessings of Allah, and then we feel sometimes full, and then it gives us again some kind of burden, isn't it, to eat too much, for example. We really want to enjoy, and then after we eat too much, sometimes what happens, we feel the burden, right? So in Jannah there is no such burden. Even we will eat the more we want, we will enjoy as much as we want, subhanallah. So indeed, such a sultan, such a king will want to receive its obedient servants to its eternal place of paradise, in which he will make them, inshallah, enjoy themselves eternally. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make us of those, inshallah.
Ameen. Ameen, Ya Rabbil Alameen.
So we have two last matters which we will, inshallah, deal with more quickly, inshallah, which is actually also less content here. So I hope we can, inshallah, cover it in just some 10-15 minutes maximum, inshallah.
Yeah. Thanks for reminding.
This is a reminder for me too.
No problem. No problem. So, Brother Yusuf, mashallah, so we covered mercy, compassion, generosity, and his most sort of all-encompassing names. And his might is endless. Some people might ask that whether Allah is capable of creating the hereafter or not. But actually, in order to understand it, we need to observe the entire universe. I'm sure you would give some other examples about the observation of the universe, but let me give an example. Let's say there's a person who puts together a massive army from scratch. So there was no army before. So from scratch, from nothing, he in a single day he got together and trained people, and he feeds them and gives their uniforms and necessary equipment and put them into barracks. And there's a beautiful and organized army. So in the beginning, making up or putting together a massive army is very difficult. If you compare all the things necessary for an army, an organized army, that is difficult. But if someone makes that army and he sends and disperses the troops to a coffee break or a rest, would it be difficult to, let's say, with a single trumpet or a whistle, for this person to bring back all the soldiers? So just with a blow of a whistle, all battalions can come after that rest. The soldiers of which had dispersed previously, and on his trumpet or his whistle, they can easily come back together. So the battalions, no doubt, are ordered according to his wishes, because he was the person, he did the army in the beginning. So if someone were to say, I don't believe in that, this person cannot do that, then his argument, his rejection would be utterly foolish. Someone who is capable of forming an entire army all along with their equipment and uniforms and food and drink and all other necessities to live by, cannot simply get them together again after their break. Of course he can. Similarly, when we look at the universe, when we observe the universe, we see millions of species. Their life, their habitats, physical needs, all that they would need in their lifetime are actually given by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the utmost balance and system. So the animals, the plants, insects, microorganisms, and all other countless species, I can't count now, are like an army of God, army of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah creates them from nothing with the trumpet of Israfil alayhi salam. Inshallah, they can easily come together and Allah can resurrect them again. Allah is able to create from nothing, which he has done, he has been doing, and he will be able to do so. So he has been able to create them, and he can do it even much easier fashion. So hereafter is there waiting for us. But the question is, are there any examples of resurrection in this world, in the world that we are living in? Brother Yusuf, has Allah created anyone who died before, or has Allah created anything which died before? Do we have any examples from the universe?
Yeah. So this is the third question, right? So those who are in doubt regarding resurrection, they say, are there any examples? And yes, to which we say yes. So Imam Bediüzzaman gives the examples of alternation of day and night, springs, the creation and disperse of clouds, and centuries. So which means the alternation of day and night. Every day, what happens? We all go to sleep, and sleep, Imam Bediüzzaman says, is the younger brother of death, right? So we go to sleep, right? And then this like 70–80% of the living creatures, again, they go to sleep at night. The life stops, everything stops. You cannot see anything. It becomes fully dark, right? So the life almost stops. And then suddenly, on the next day in the morning, everything is resurrected, right? Those who are lying almost dead, they again wake up, everything starts functioning. Another example of resurrection in our life today is the springs, especially in countries where there are winter, like in Turkey. So in winter, literally the earth is covered with the, like when people die, they're covered with the white cloth, isn't it? So the face of the earth is like a dead body, is covered with the white cloth of snow. And indeed, the trees and plants, they all lose their water. So the scientists, they say we cannot differentiate a dead plant to a living plant when it is winter. It is exactly almost that. And then when it becomes summer, then subhanallah, Allah sends down the water. That is the life, right? The water of life. And it revives, right? It literally revives the frozen or dried bodies of plants which didn't have water, during the winter. And then so spring is like the rebirth of the face of the earth, right? Everything literally dies, and then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revives the earth, makes it vivid, makes it lively with the moving creation around. And also many things die and they are again revived in the same form and shape. And the clouds, again, they are created, they are air particles in the sky, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forms with them a cloud upon his command. They come together, and again upon the command of Allah, again they disperse. So as if they go like the battalion that you have given the example. So upon the order they come together, and upon the next order they just disperse, and you cannot see any single part of it even. So these are the examples of hashr that are actually taking place in our world. And another one is the centuries, right? For example, every century, entire humanity dies, another entire humanity is revived, is created. And for example, there are eras throughout the history of humanity, right? So an era ends, another era starts, and that ends, another era is created. And the countries, they die, other countries are born. So we see actually so many examples, right, of resurrection. And again, in our body, for example, 50 million cells are die every day, and another 50 million cells are created every day. And during the course of 7 years, all our body changes, is transformed. All of the cells in our body are transformed. We have a new body. Our spirit is same, but our body is not same. It looks same, but it is not the same cells. The old cells died and the new ones are created. So someone who is aged 70, he has actually witnessed resurrection 10 times in his life. Right? So these are some of the examples actually that we have in life. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in Surah Rum, verse 50, بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم فانظر إلى آثار رحمة الله كيف يحيي الأرض بعد موتها إن ذلك لمحيي الموتى وهو على كل شيء قدير. Look upon the signs of Allah's mercy and see how He restores life to the earth after its death. Verily, He it is who shall bring to life the dead, and He is powerful over all things. So we see, right, the examples of actually resurrection, that a dry earth is suddenly created and turned into a living earth. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala shows a lot of examples, right, of resurrection in today's world. And also a person came to Prophet Muhammad alayhi salam. He brought a bone, and then he just rubbed the bone, and then he said, now who's going to revive this bone, right? Who's going to revive this bone? And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, upon that incident, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed an ayah in Surah Yasin, as we all read it. And Allah actually first quoted, right, narrated this story, this case, what happened. And Allah said, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, أَوَلَمْ يَرَى الْإِنسَانُ أَنَّا خَلَقْنَاهُ مِنْ نُطْفَةٍ فَإِذَا هُوَ خَصِيمٌ مُبِينٌ وضرب لنا مثلا ونسي خلقه قال من يحيي العظام وهي رميم قل يحييها الذي أنشأها أول مرة وهو بكل خلق عليم. Does man not consider that we created him from a mere sperm drop? Then at once he is a clear adversary. So although we are created from just a mere sperm drop, we were nothing, we were just so lowly, and then we have become an enemy, an adversary to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. May Allah protect. And he presents for us an example and forgets his own creation. He says, who will give life to bones while they are disintegrated? That man who gave the example of bones, right? Say, he will give them life who produced them the first time, and he is of all creation knowing. So Allah is the one who created us from nothing, right? Who gave us from nothing. So he is the one who is going to recreate us, who is going to resurrect us with the particles of our body that already met each other and know each other. So the first, if we are talking about difficulty, the first creation is more difficult than recreation, than resurrection, right? So, but there is no difficult and easy for Allah. Everything is easiest. There is nothing that can, impair, right, the power of Allah. For example, light impairs the degree of darkness, but there is nothing that's going to affect Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's mercy. Everything is Allah's creation, right? And He is Latif al-Khabir. أَلَا يَعْلَمُ مَنْ خَلَقَ وَهُوَ اللَّطِيفُ الْخَبِيرُ. Does the one who created not know? So He is Alim and He knows everything. So He penetrates into everything and He controls everything. So the one who created first time can easily, if we have to say, resurrect it after its death. So, with this, inshallah, we can conclude our presentation, our discussion today, and I can ask Brother Hamza Barat to make a short summary of today's discussion, and then we can close, inshallah.
Jazakallah khair, brother. MashaAllah, the ayat and ahadith, all of them prove it. So we shouldn't forget that resurrection, al-hashr, the recreation of the entire, universe, or the bodily, corporeal resurrection, is not only in Islam, but also has been given in the previous scriptures as well. So in the Bible and in the Torah, in the previous heavenly scriptures, it was given. So previously, 1,024,000 prophets, previously, they confirmed this. They said that there will be a hereafter. You will die and Allah will create you again and again. So Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam, he asks for hereafter and he makes his dua always. And we know that his dua will be accepted. And many people who are suffering, they do make dua as well. And their dua will be accepted as well. So we have actually many more examples. Well, because we don't have time to, elaborate all of them. But inshallah ta'ala, maybe our viewers can, if they can go deep into the 10th word, the epistle on Hashr, on resurrection, inshallah they can see more of them. And in the 7th issue or 7th matter in the Staff of Moses, alayhi salam, written by Imam Badi'u Zaman Sayyid Nursi, inshallah they can see all of them as well. But to just recapture or just to summarize, what we can say that there is Allah and He exists, and because Allah has beautiful names, all of His names, just like His merciful and His compassionate, His mercy and compassion needs to go forever. Otherwise, it would be torture for His, creation. And His justice should go forever. This world is not enough to serve that justice. And He likes generosity. He likes giving. He's Kareem, and His generosity will go on forever. Just like this, all other names of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala prove our point for those who really want to ponder upon the reality of the life after death, inshallah ta'ala.
Inshallah. Thank you very much, Brother.
My pleasure, brother. Thank you so much
for your nice contributions.
Inshallah.
So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept, inshallah, our discussion as an act of ibadah. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala increase us in knowledge, increase us in amal, and increase us in ikhlas, inshallah.
Ameen. Ameen. Ameen.
So inshallah, with this, we can conclude this discussion, and looking forward to meet all of you, inshallah, in the next discussion with a new guest, inshallah. And we thank Brother Hamza Barat once again for his presence and for his nice, valuable contribution. Jazakumullah
My
khairan.
pleasure. Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you very much. Please convey our regards to brothers in UK.
Alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah.
And may Allah open more doors, inshallah, for fatih, for granting, being a wasila, being a means for people to grab Islam, inshallah. So we sometimes get the good news from you that new people are, mashallah, embracing Islam through the activities, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant more people, inshallah.
Amen. If there is anything good, it is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If there is anything wrong, it is from our own nafs. So may Allah accept our, forgive us for the mistakes and give us success for both in this world and in the hereafter. Amen. Jazakallah. Thank you, brother.
سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم وآخر دعوانا الحمد لله رب العالمين. See you next month, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.